No,
Hello, Nick fans. Welcome to another episode of the Worldwide Knicks podcast. And guys, for the first time in our 2 years of podcasting this, we are talking about playoff basketball for the New York Knicks. Just let that sink in, just let it absorb you, and make you feel wonderful. So Alex and Rafa, full crew in tonight, along with me, Omar. So guys, how we feeling right now?
Good, thanks, Omar. Yeah, finally got there over the line. So, as much as it's a near certainty the last week or so,
Mhm.
you just again, it's as we always say, that next PTSD. Just until it's definite, it's not done. So,
Yeah, so
so
true.
yeah, good to have a Rafa back as well.
good to be back finally. It's been 2 weeks. Been a hectic 2 weeks here around here. So yeah, it felt good to have a break. I barely caught Knicks games even. Didn't see the Randall injury, nothing. I was just falling asleep. So um, I'm back, ready for the playoffs, full force.
So Rafa got load
Hopefully,
managed. He's he had podcast maintenance, just similar to Jalen Brunson's right hand maintenance, and he's back ready to go. Me and Alex, we pulled the Isaiah Hartenstein, we trucked through it. We're good to go. But I guess
The
it's
the
not
the Mikael Bridges. Did you see that today? He did
83
his
games, right?
83 games. Yeah,
Yeah, good for him, man. It's a nice player. He's really
six.
I think there could be some fun moments for him in this playoff series against Philly. That I don't think they're going to win the series by any means. Philly's very strong, but I think he might be due for like a couple really good games. Plus, he has experience with Phoenix, so he's been there before,
it's
kind of thing.
it's funny that we have a Nets Sixers matchup,
Yep.
and James Harden is the only one playing in that series for the Sixers. Like they were all in the Nets with Kyrie
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
Durant.
yeah.
They're
That's a good
all
point.
gone,
Mm.
all gone. I mean, amazing.
That is pretty funny. So not much to recap in terms of games last week. It was kind of just a get to the finish line type of situation. So the team went 2-2, mostly meaningless. After the win in Washington, the fifth seed was locked up, and even before that game was over, the Nets had lost to the Cavs. So that sealed the fate for both Cleveland and the Knicks for that 4-5 matchup. So yeah, 2-2. We saw a lot of Immanuel Quickley, a lot of Obi Toppin, in just kind of tune-up games. A couple good games by Mitchell Robinson as well. But 2-2 with wins against the Wizards in Indiana, and then a loss against New Orleans and Indiana earlier this afternoon. So that's that. So now we are shifting focus into the playoffs. So another first round 4-5 matchup. This time we're the 5 seed instead of the 4 seed, like we were a couple years ago. And we get to play against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are, of course, led by Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, amongst other good players that they have. So
I think
I
I've
guess
heard
to
that name
start,
before. Donovan Mitchell.
I know I feel like we might have said something about him. But so I guess first off, just starting off, guys, what's the key for a Knicks victory in this series?
Um, Good health. Getting
Mm,
Randall back as
yeah.
soon as possible. I think I was really glad to see Obi playing well last week, but you know, he's Randall's still probably our second best player. He's key to getting into these playoffs. So some of the nonsense I've seen just about well, this is what life could be like without Randall, sort of thing. We don't need him and all this good stuff. So yeah, getting Randall back is going to be key, I think. And I've absolutely loved what I've seen in the last week or so from Grimes. I think Grimes could be like a kind of secret weapon in this series. That a lot of the focus is going to be on Brunson and Randolph is back. And I think Grimes, just with his quick shooting, and his defense, he's had great success over Mitchell in the past. Can't really stop Mitchell, but he's slowed him down so much. as well. I think he with the form he's in, he's going to be absolutely key. I think to this series. So looking forward to seeing him. Hopefully, no playoff jitters or anything like that. He just comes out because he's usually just got that real kind of bubbly kind of confidence, and I just hope he keeps that going into the playoffs, and there's no real sign of nerves coming there.
I mean, Randall is key to see how he comes back. It was good seeing him on the floor, not on the floor, but on the bench at the bench tonight for the game. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no walking
might be a
boot.
little.
Nice.
Yeah, he's. I mean, there's no. I mean, there was no reason for neither him or Brunson to play, especially if he's third, obviously. But especially Brunson, the games were done. We're the fifth seed. There's no way to go. So um, yeah, getting Brunson ready with no injuries at all, it was going to be key, and Randall as well. I mean, Brunson, we know he's ready. He will be ready to go, and even if he's in pain, he will play. We've learned about that about Jalen Brunson, but Julius Randle is a concern. He's a guy who never gets injured, and it's like it's the feels like a very Knicks thing to have the guy that never gets injured get injured right before the playoffs. I mean, so, but yeah, I think it's just it's a precaution. He was there. He didn't seem worried at all. So I think he'll be ready to go. Game one, even if he's not 100%, he's like 90% ready to go. I think he will be in that game one. Well, throwing punches at other team players.
Hopefully, right? But no technical fouls, please.
Oh no, no, no. Just a
I
joke, just a joke.
yeah.
We've
The
got
way I'm
Josh
looking
Hart
at
for
it,
that now.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, you get Josh Hart to pick up the technicals now. You're good to go.
Mm.
For me, there's two
What's going
things
on,
that
man?
yeah, right. There's two things that really stick out to me for this series. One is 3-point shooting, of course. That's gonna, I think, make or break the Knicks. And Alex, excuse me, you mentioned Grimes. He is a big part of that. Being able to hit those kind of catch and shoot threes is going to be pivotal because we know that Cleveland can score with Mitchell and Garland and Mobley. Even Okoro has kind of come on as a little bit of a shooting threat in the later parts of this year. I think that's the one thing. The second big thing is bench play. I think that's a real advantage for the Knicks, with Quickley and Toppin and Hartenstein. You've got a bunch of guys who can score and can lead units. And you look at the Cavs bench, it's a little thinner. You got guys like Dean Wade. Obviously, they still have Karis LeVert, I think, coming off the bench now that Okoro has been slotted into the starting lineup. And you have Lamar Stevens. Like, these are okay players, but I think you need to take advantage in that second quarter when the bench units are in there. And to me, that's the key for the Knicks. If they have good bench play and they can hit down some timely threes, because we've talked about a million times about this team's not a very good 3-point shooting team. And Brunson has been incredible, especially above the break this year. RJ's been hit and miss. Randall's kind of, he's kind of improved from the year before, but not quite of 2021 form, right? In terms of the percentage. Grimes has come on lately. Quickly's up and down. Toppin's up and down with a three. And, never mind relying on a 3-point shot from any of our centers. So I think that's really the important thing. Obviously, we all mentioned Randall, but I guess I'm curious for your guys' take on which other player besides the health of Julius Randle do you think is going to be most important for us in this series?
Well, I think the obvious one's Brunson, because he's coming off last season, obviously, with the experience with the Mavs, getting to the conference finals. That he's got that amazing experience, and he had a lot of experience without Luka as well. We had to take the team on his back, which is exactly the position he's in just now. He's got an argument for most improved player this year, just with the 3-point shot has improved massively, and that's, I think, probably the main reason why his points per game has been bumped up so much, but all season I've just been so impressed with his calmness under pressure and his leadership, which are two things that are just absolutely vital in a playoff setting with the team. So it's something that we've maybe fallen down 2 years ago, just lacking that extra threat on top of Randall. I think the Hawks defense could quite easily game plan. Yeah, you just stop Randall, you stop the Knicks. So, and I think just having that second elite threat is going to be massive. I think for the playoffs, and I don't think Brunson's going to go in with any kind of nerves or any kind of second thoughts. He's just got that amazing attitude that he's going to go in and he's going to come in from a leadership role as well with his experience. So I think he's just going to be a massive part of this playoffs run, hopefully. So.
Man, it's the playoffs, so there has to be obviously a collective. Every guy needs to be doing their job 100% on it. They need to be. Mitch has to be good on defense, not getting into foul trouble and anything else. Hartenstein has continued that trend, so we need to play like a well-oiled machine because it's something taught us about these 4 games again. The 4 games we played this year against the Cavs, there'll be wars out there. The teams are really, I think they're really well matched. Could be a very, very intriguing series. Game 7 potential for sure. And it's obviously the stars, Randall and Brunson, need to be okay with it. But you mentioned 2 guys that were up and down on 3-point shooting, but well, in games as well, which are RJ and Quickley. They've been so up and down. Offensively, more RJ than Quickley, but okay, the RJ's 3-point shot has been terrible. We all know that. But if he continues it, at least he continues this trend of being able to penetrate effectively and kick out and get the space around him. Even with the first unit, since we're seeing where there's a possibility where Randall is not 100% yet, and Brunson might still be feeling his hand as well. It might be huge as well with Quickley having good offensive games, not those offensive games where Quickley is, what are you doing? Like the young players growing pains. So yeah, but I think those 2 are the most important that we need to be. They need to be effective in this series. Obviously, Mitch as well as I mentioned, not getting into foul trouble is massive because it will be a war. I don't know what's the situation on Jared Allen. He's going to play?
He'll be good to go.
He played tonight. Yeah, he played 12 minutes tonight. So those 2 have had a couple of some great battles in the past. So yeah, I agree that's going to be a big one.
I mean, yeah, Jared Allen being in their pain is kind of concerning for our penetration ability, but we need to work around it. And if the 3-point shooting is falling, better yet. So yeah, man, it will be a tough season, a tough series. It definitely will be.
They're a poor 3-point shooting team as well, I think, aren't they?
Classic Eastern Conference matchup, man.
Yeah,
a couple teams that can't fucking shoot. Great.
Everyone can shoot against the Knicks. I mean, that guy you mentioned, D Wade, he always kills the Knicks from 3-point. I mean, bootleg D Wade, like what? I mean, please, man. Why? I think I can. It's not a shot, Alex. Wait, not a shot. If Tibbs will be able to mix and match, not even on lineups, but the defensive schemes, if something isn't working. This is a bit different beast. He has playoff experience, obviously, but if he can do things differently, he has been. We've been seeing it that guys finishing the games have been changing. RJ, Grimes, Quickley, even Obi wasn't finishing games. Hart was finishing over him as one of these games. Randall was out, so there was a lot of mix and match. I like that. But if we can change even the defensive style of play to adjust to if we're getting outdone by the Cavs.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. The Knicks' defensive style has been to give up, those swing threes to lesser threats, like a Dean Wade. To your point, Rafa, and it's at times been okay, and at times hurt them in the regular season. But if it's killing them in the playoffs, you have to adjust. And I think them closing out on those shooters is going to be super, super important. But for me, guys, it's RJ without a question. Is the most important pivotal like X factor, if you will, in this series because that Brunson and Mitchell are going to be going at it. You hope that Randall is healthy and he's going to get his, and Garland's going to get his. And on the Cap side, I think it's Mobley who's the really interesting one. How many shots does he get? How efficient is he? But RJ, like he's got to hit some threes, and there's no way around it. He's got to on those catch and shoot threes, and I get and I understand that his role has changed a little bit this year. He went from the second option to the third option. That's a big adjustment to make. But like the other night, obviously, yeah, it was against the New Orleans team, and without Zion or whatever, and he went 0 for 9 from three, and these are a lot of nights where the 3-point shot isn't there, but the inside game has gotten better. So we need that, but we need a couple of threes from him. And he's probably going to be, as Grimes typically you're imagining is going to be the primary defender on Mitchell, but RJ is going to have to be assisting in the perimeter defense as well. So I think he's so important in this series. And as much as the focus is going to be on Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, because those two, I think, for a while are going to be inextricably linked just because of the trade stuff, which we'll, get to in a second here. But yeah, to me, it's RJ. You need a monster series from him. And if you do get a monster series from him, I think the Knicks advance in this series. If you get a real bad version of RJ, I don't think they can beat Cleveland. And it's this is kind of, I think, a lot of this year, this fan base's faith in RJ has been tested a lot. And there's kind of starting to be a growing number of fans that are kind of saying, maybe we should have kind of been more thinking about getting rid of him, right? And while I don't think any of us are there yet, if you have a bad series, that's going to be real tough to swallow. I'm not sure like how you guys feel about that, but I think the series is incredibly important for RJ, and on a bigger scale than just losing or winning a series.
Yeah, and the front office have obviously not shown absolute faith in RJ. The rumors have been there for a long time now about potentially trading him. So I think you're right. I think he has a bad series, then it doesn't look good for his long-term future. The Knicks. So as much as I don't want it to happen, I think he's going to be one of those players that's just going to be a bit of a slow burner. I mean, we even a couple of years ago we were talking about when's the next RJ leap in form, when's it going to happen? And two years ago I think his 3-point percentage jumped up to something like 40%, and you were just like, oh, here it comes, it's coming. But it just kind of, yeah, he either just seems to be kind of stagnating a little bit, or even taking a step backwards with his 3-point shot. So he's maybe just one of those players that's never going to take a big leap. I think he's always going to be trying to improve little bits of his game. He's just got that
and he
attitude,
has, for the record, this year. Like his finishing has gotten a lot better. His passing has improved a bit, especially when he's in the lane, and that's market improvement. But like you kind of weigh the shot more, I think, than some of like the other stuff. So
I just don't think he's ever going to be that guy that's going to take that next, huge step, to be the next level sort of thing. He's just going to make incremental improvements as year on year.
To your point about him having a bad series or a great series or whatever, what is to you guys a great RJ series? What do we want from him in this series? It's like if he hits shots and doesn't turn over the ball,
2 to 3 threes per game. That defines a good series for me. 2 to 3 made per game. Okay, like you have to be a threat. You can't go 1 for 9 or 1 for 8 or whatever the case may be. You got to be able to be a threat on the catch and shoot. And the same thing goes for Grimes, in that aspect. And then you're hoping to get between 16 to 20 points from him a night. I don't think that's unreasonable. And you're hoping that he plays good defense on Garland and Mitchell when they're switched up. To me, that's a good RJ series. I don't know if you feel the same way, Alex.
I mean, if he's missing every shot like he was the other night, then I don't want him shooting 9 threes at all. Do you know? I don't want him kind of trying to force shot. With RJ, I find sometimes when he's struggling, he tries to force too much. Like when he's doing his driving to the basket has obviously improved a lot, but sometimes he misses those like easy layups. And then you'll see him the next play or so, he's trying to correct it by just barreling towards the basket with no thought to if somebody's open or something like that. He's almost like frustrated at himself, and he's trying to prove to everybody that he can do it. And you're just like, he needs to get to that stage where he can take a step back and think, what's the best move here for the team? I think sometimes he gets in his own head a little bit. And
also, guys, I really do not want to discount the fact the Cavs are a really good defensive team. They're like the best defense in the league. They are a very good interior defensive team. So that poses problems for us, because we have 3 guys who want to get inside, so it's not going to be an easy offensive series. Let's just be honest. That's why I say if he hits a couple of threes, that's what you want, because those points are not going to be easy to come by in a long series with Cleveland.
Yeah, and they'll know that as well. They'll let us shoot, and I think part of that defense will be just, packing the paint and just knowing how bad a 3-point shooting team we are. And if the threes start falling, then maybe they'll have to adjust the game plan. But I think that will be the primary game plan for us.
So what you guys are saying is that this series will be building new houses in New York and in Cleveland, with all the bricks being shot from one side to the other.
Pretty much,
is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
But yeah. So, but to the RJ point, I feel like he has improved a lot in that regard of being frustrated and not helpful to the offense, because everybody's talking about the 0-9 game from 3. Awful display of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
He finished with 28, 7, and 6 without hitting a 3 to save his life. 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. So many. The ball didn't in, so he didn't get the assist plays. So if he's able to do that, be that initiator we've been talking, obviously the 3-point shooter, needs to be a threat. That was a moment this game. I think it was the first 3 he hit. Like the guy guarding him sagged off. Like, you're not hitting shots, sagged off, and he hit the shot. That's a big shot for, even if you missed the first 2 or 3. The moment they sag off and you hit that shot, okay, now he hits the shot. So I need to guard him. So he needs to be guardable from 3. He doesn't need to be Alfred Payton from 3 or Mitch or whatever. No, it's obviously it's the thing about, and the 3-point shot we've been seeing, and Mike Breen and Clyde were talking about it in the broadcast. Like, RJ have been struggling from 3, but it's been a trend all season. Like, Deuce McBride was, I called him many times, a black hole in offense because he couldn't do anything. Now he's hitting shots. We joked so much about how Obi was our best 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting shots again.
Yeah.
And Grimes' shot is coming back. So shooting the 3 is streaky. Obviously, RJ hasn't never had the greatest numbers. I agree he needs to be a threat, but if he's not, even if his shooting is not amazing, he hits a couple, 1 or 2, it's great. But if he is able to initiate an offense and kick it out without forcing it, I feel he's being much better at it last couple of games, that will immediately help us be a better team.
And again, Rafa, it's like he has to, like you just said it, he has to be a threat from there, because we can't have Okoro hitting him with the Ben Simmons defense, so That's like, you don't want that, right? You want to have that proper spacing. You're also going to pack the paint even more against the Knicks if you have somebody like RJ who they don't respect his shot at all. But like you said, he makes one early. They have to respect it, and then they're gonna the gravity is going to be a little bit more towards him. In addition, of course, to playmaking and to giving the right reads. I mean, that goes without saying. But I really think the make or break for the Knicks is both, really, three guys shooting. Obviously you want Brunson and Randall to hit shots. They're your two best players. We know that. That goes without saying. But Quickley, Grimes, RJ, they got to hit their shots. That's what it is.
Yeah, just a point on RJ. I think you. He entered this league and he seemed like, okay, I'm ready to be the guy.
Yeah.
And so you see him work on all of the stuff, like work on defense, look on penetration, look on passing, work on shooting. So he doesn't focus his full attention on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so like you said, Omar, was like you guys when you started talking, was the first thing you said. It was he's improving every year, like small steps.
Yep.
Because he's working on every little thing. Think for okay, he can penetration is working, his finishing is improving. Okay, continue with that throughout the season. Take a year and work solely on shooting, like solely on shooting, because he seems like he's working on everything at the same time. He wants to improve at every stat, and that might slow you down a bit. Like get a stat, get it. This stat, I'm elite. I'm elite at this, so I can.
Let me interject real quick, Rafa. I think we can all say we would be very happy if RJ just turned into elite defender and above average 3-point shooter. If that's all it was, then we'd be okay with that. And obviously the playmaking is a bonus. It's just it's tough because I don't want to spend too much time on just kind of dissecting RJ throughout this year, but it's just like it's hard to acclimate to the role because Randall and Brunson take up so much of the usage, and you kind of would like the ideal situation. I mean, remember when RJ came out, people were comparing him to James Harden, so whether you think that comp is accurate or not, you want a guy like that to have the ball in his hands, and he is shifted to a role where it's not in his hands, and you're just hoping that isn't the folly for this team in the playoffs, is that he isn't able to make shots, or again, Quickley or Grimes or Toppin are not able to hit big shots, because that's what you're going to need. But I want to move on real quick from that. You mentioned it earlier, Rafa, oh yeah, we've heard that name Donovan Mitchell before. So of course, the Knicks were in heavy trade talks with the Jazz in the offseason, try to acquire Mitchell. Didn't work. Also, like the rumored trade, in hindsight, it's kind of like a thank God we didn't do it thing, where it's like 6 picks, Quickley, Grimes, McBride. It's just like RJ was thrown in there for good measure. And so Knick fans, I feel good about not making the trade now. But do you guys think that if this team were to lose, if the Knicks lose to the Cavs, is the whole talk about, oh, you should have traded for Donovan Mitchell in the offseason, is that going to kind of overshadow all the good and overachieving that this team did this year?
I mean, those people are always going to be out there.
Right.
They're almost probably wanting the Knicks to lose just so that they can, again, as we've talked many times, just prove themselves right. See, I told you so. Mm-hmm. We all know who they are, and they'll just be sitting ready there to say, we should have just given up everything for him. I remember when the first chat about the trade happened. You guys were pretty against it, but I was saying, you do need to find out the price. You do need to, pick up the phone. Sure. These trades, you always need to, at least see what's out there. You could catch a team that's desperate, and you can make a move that works for you. But I mean, now that we know what the trade really was, it would have been a crazy trade, and it would, we wouldn't have been in the same position. Obviously, it would have set us right back. I think we'd be struggling to even make the play in with that, and it's reset the franchise probably a couple of years at least to kind of build back up again, and with next to no picks to do it. So yeah, it's a nonsense discussion in a way that look what we could have had, but they, as we said at the time, the Cavs were in the perfect position to do it. They gave up a lot, but they didn't give up the top 3-4 players to do it. We would have had to give up serious assets to do it within our roster.
The Cavs showed you that they had a war chest because they were able to shed guys like Markkanen and Sexton and the draft capital as well, and it not matter because they retained their best players. So for us, if we're going to make that trade, we want to be able to get rid of players and retain our best players. And at that point, we didn't know what Quickley was going to be. We didn't know the evolution of Grimes and things of that nature. In hindsight, that would have been real bad, So, you kind of have to, you kind of dodge the bullet in that aspect. And the fact is, under that trade mechanism, Donovan Mitchell would have been coming into a situation that was not ideal, whereas in Cleveland, he walked into a situation that was very ideal with really good players already in place.
But also, I mean, people mock the difference between what the Jazz gave and what the Knicks offer was, and the Cavs, and you're like, well, I mean, in hindsight, if we're talking hindsight, then look what Markkanen became. Markkanen's been the perfect fit for the Jazz,
Yeah.
And
maybe too perfect of a fit. Now their lottery odds are messed up.
Well, no, but exactly. But when we're talking about the offer overall, like they've got effectively an all-star player now in their team. So the deal doesn't look quite as bad as it once was.
Don't forget that we didn't know what Quickley was going to be, the development of Grimes and everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we didn't know what Julius Randle we would have.
Yeah, very true.
That's the thing. If Julius Randle was now a 3-time All-Star, or hovering over All NBA again, like he is, like 3 years in a row, this could be a different tale. Like, let's go all in, and we don't know what type of Randle we have. We believe in him, but only he can show us. So that's the conversation to add the conversation as well. At least I think so. That's a thing. And if we lose to the Cavs, I don't think it's a fail of a season. Because, first of all, nobody expected the season to be this good. So, like, we retained the talent. We are, if you look at it, we may be a step behind the Cavs because we can. Okay, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are the stars of the team. We still have all of the young players that the Cavs had to add another star to the team, another trade to this another guy. Or is it Obi, Quickley, Grimes, Argent, whatever? We can use those assets to trade to even improve further. So we are the 5th seed, right behind the 4th seed after they make the big trade. I think we discussed this. I think it was in our group chat. Like, we didn't make the big move everybody wanted us to make, like the Cavs or the Timberwolves or the Mavs. We'll get to that. We didn't. Although they made the moves, we improved. I think we are at the same level as them without making that big. So to me, it's not like, oh, it's done. We should have traded for Donovan Mitchell. Yes, second round, it's done.
No. It's such a good point, Rafa, because one thing, it's almost like we acquired somebody and you just take the evolution of Quickley. That's like an upgrade at that position just because of the way he's gotten so much better this year, right? We're about to talk about him as, probably likely 6th man of the year. And he's been a real spark plug and a great fill-in when Brunson couldn't go. And, so it's a big point that, the Cavs went all in and they got the 4 seed and they were a few games better than us. And we didn't do anything really, right? So I don't think you could look at this as a failure because, I hate the fact that it's even going to happen because I was actually secretly hoping, I was like, oh man, maybe being 6th seed wouldn't be so bad. You get to play Philly, so you don't got to deal with the stupid, conversation about, oh, you should have got Donovan Mitchell, which is like the most annoying conversation to have. But then again, do you really want to go against the likely MVP of the league in Joel Embiid? So, you can't really make that decision. But yeah, I think this season is a resounding success. We're talking about an organization that has not tasted winning on a big consistent level in 20 years. Okay. And this is now 2 playoff appearances in 3 years. That's encouraging. We all kind of thought that they'd be fighting for a play-in spot. We thought they will be where the Hawks are today, right? And in reality, they showed that they're much better than that. And you gotta say that that's the only way this is disappointing, I think, is if we get swept. And I think that's really the only way we're kind of like if we get one of those Detroit Pistons sweeps, where remember a few years back when they played the Bucks in the first round and they lost every game by 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's like if we are just so outclassed by the Cavs, then I think you kind of got to look yourself in the mirror. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very competitive series, like you guys mentioned. On paper, the teams match up really well, and it's probably going to be, I would say, the most interesting series in the East in the first round. Depending on how the play-in shakes out. But yeah.
Plus, sorry, Omar.
Yeah.
Plus, how many games this season have we been outclassed and blown out? You could probably count them on
Only
one
against
hand.
Milwaukee, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
only against the Bucks. I feel like.
Yeah.
And the Dallas game.
Yeah, that one Dallas game. Right.
That was right before a big win against the Cavs.
There was a Nets game as well, wasn't there, around Christmas time where we got pretty.
No, that's not.
It doesn't count anymore, Alex, because it's not the same Nets team. So they don't exist in history books. So,
but yeah, out of 82 games, if we're struggling to think of more than 3, then
yeah, they're doing pretty good.
Success
shows you how competitive we are.
So the magic question now, guys, is how do you guys think the series is going to go? What's your prediction?
I agree. Rafa said at the beginning, I agree. I think this has got a kind of a seven game series written all over it. To be honest, I think it could just be a, punching back and forward. It could possibly just go with the home team, just back and forward like that. But it's good to see that after a lot of the season where we really struggled at MSG form has picked up a lot. So so we're clearly capable on the road if we need to, and capable at MSG now. So from that side of things, I can only really see 7 tight games. I don't know if there's going to be a blowout in any of them. I could just see it being a really, really competitive series.
So you got Knicks or Cavs in 7?
Oh, right, yeah. Thought I'd got away with that there. All right, I'll put my positive hat on and say Knicks then. I'll say steal game 7 on the road.
Okay. Rafa?
There is no way, let me start with saying this. There is no way that in the playoffs, I'm a bet against the Knicks. It's a long shot with us winning the title, but we're here. We have a chance. We don't pay to dream, so I'm never gonna bet against the Knicks. So I think the Knicks are taking the series. Preferably, we would do 4-2. That game 7, it has, I don't know, man, heartbreak all over.
Wacky things happen in game 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's going to be a tight series, like I mentioned. This is going to be a war. I'm not going to get fooled about us beating them 3 times in the regular season, because one of those losses, we were up 7 like in the fourth quarter and ended up getting blown out, which was good. So very important first 2 games in Cleveland, obviously. We need to take one of those. If we could take the first game, massive. It's a massive game, because to me it's like you're going to play the 2 games away from home. If you take the first one, the second one they will come back out swinging again because it's second game and we've done our job. We've taken this first game, so this second game we can relax a bit and save it for New York. So just get out there, win the first game, battle it out, triple overtime. I don't care. Just take the win and take the two games in New York and just finish it. If that game five, game six, do whatever you can to that third game at home. Well, to get there, obviously, but that third game at home to be the last game of the series. To me, it's what we need to do to be able to avoid that game seven in Cleveland. It's not a good game seven will be complete mental breakdown for me. I can sense it.
So we
Uh,
won one more road game than MSG. I just checked the stats. I checked them the other day.
I think it's the fifth most road wins that the Knicks have had in the history of the franchise this year in terms of road wins. So, we've got that going for us, which is nice. I think it's a 7-game series. Yes, just like Alex said, and like Rafa mentioned earlier in the episode. The Julius Randle question is a big one for me. If not just if he's going to play, the rust factor. Is he going to force his shot? How is he going to be defensively? What's the lateral movement going to be like? Is he trust the ankle only a couple weeks after being injured? For that reason, I think the Cavs might take this in 7. Because as much as people want to say Obi this, Obi that, build around Obi, whatever, playoffs are a different animal, man. Like, I just don't know what Julius is going to be. And then maybe I got Hawks PTSD from a couple years ago, where we came in confident saying Knicks in 6, and we ended up going home in 5. Yeah, so the Julius injury really, I think if Julius was just fully healthy going into this series, I think I'd be more leaning towards Knicks in 7. But I think it's going 7 either way, and that injury makes me question if we have enough, to be able to do it, because the Cavs are a really good team, really good defense. And again, because of their interior defense, it's going to be hard to score on them with the way we like to score. But hopefully I'm wrong. Obviously I'm rooting, and we're all rooting for. We want the Knicks to sweep the Cavs, of course. We want the Knicks to win every game. But we'll see how it shakes out. All right, so that's preview of the playoffs.
I don't know how to maintain myself. It's playoff basketball with the Knicks. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act
We don't know
naturally.
we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just kind of.
I keep forgetting about the play-in as well. I keep thinking the playoffs are about to start, and then
lucky for us, right? That there's a play-in gives basically another week for Julius to heal up even more, which is even better for us, circumstantially. Let's pivot, guys. Let's talk a little bit about Immanuel Quickley. So I mentioned earlier he's in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. Over the last month or two, he's really catapulted and become the favorite with a lot of sports books, putting him as the odds-on favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year. The other candidates, Bobby Portis from Milwaukee, and more notably Malcolm Brogdon from Boston. Boston fans have kind of drummed up this thing where they are saying that Brogdon should win because he came off the bench every single game that he appeared, whereas Quickley has started 20 games due to absences by Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett. And of course, Quickley had great games when he started, and that's kind of their argument that his numbers only look good because of the games that he started. So when you look at it, there have been multiple players who have won the award having started more games than Quickley has. Like I think Lamar Odom started 30 some odd games one year when he won with the Lakers. So do you guys think that the how many games you start, as long as if you start any games, should that matter when it comes to Sixth Man of the Year?
No, absolutely not. And I forget who it was that said, that part of being a sixth man should be that you step up when necessary, and that's that should be part of your role. It's not just like who's the best bench player in the league. That's not what the award's about. And the whole thing about starting games as well. I think the general rule is you have to start less games than your bench. You come off the bench, so the whole starting every game thing's a nonsense anyway. And to be perfectly honest, any time you can see that Celtics fan or Boston fans in general just suffering and crying and things, it's something to be celebrated in its own. So I've been quite enjoying some of their comments. You can see how they are about it. For why, I don't know. They've obviously got a pretty good team to get behind it anyway. So I don't know why they're getting so upset about it. But if you're comparing the two players, just Brogdon and Quickley, I would certainly say Quickley as a sixth man role is the clear leader for me for that award, and that's not just me being a homer. I think I would say the same if it was the other way around. I think Quickley brings so much more to the table. So.
Okay, so first of all, let's start by saying, fuck Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. It's general consensus here.
There's your title for the episode, Omar.
Yeah, there you go. You can frame it. Was Quickley ever seen as a starter, or did he only start games because of injuries?
Yeah.
He started games because of injuries. So that means he is the first guy off the bench. He's the sixth man, obviously guard wise and wing wise, to come off the bench and play. So he played most of his games from the came off the bench. He stepped up when he needed to help the team as the first guy off the bench, as the sixth man. So that conversation from Celtics fans is just stupid. I mean, you're a sixth guy because you're the first one out there to help out. And Quickley was that the entire season. Even when he started out a little bit shaky, he did. And he just improved a lot. He has a tremendous evolution. I would like to see him as well with some votes for the most improved player. He won't get it, but he is the type of guy I would like to see that.
Gotta be Shea for that award, right? Yeah, I would imagine.
Shea?
Yeah. I mean, he's taking the leap into superstar this year. I mean,
yeah. He's a top.
Brunson would probably get votes for that award, so there might be some cannibalization there between Quickley and Brunson, I would imagine.
Well, they're saying Shea's going to possibly get into the first team All NBA as well.
Like he is like elevated into a top 10 player in this league, if not top 5. He's very good. When it comes to this Boston thing, real quick, there's only one name to discredit this whole argument. It's Derek White, because whenever anybody went down for Boston, and like I said, none of their guys have played, none of their core guys have played more than 74 games. Tatum has played 74. And when Smart misses games, when Tatum or Brown misses games, who are they bringing in? They're bringing in Derek White. They're not bringing in Malcolm Brogdon to start those games. So your team is either really worried that you're going to hurt yourself again in Brogdon, or they just like what Derek White offers more. So your own team is choosing another guy over you, right? Go ahead.
Immediate counterpoint to that, and not me signing with Boston. God forbid. Derrick Rose won Sixth Man of the Year, and he wasn't the first one coming off the bench. When someone went down, Quickley started before him. Rose always came off the bench when he was the Sixth Man of the Year, because you run that second unit well.
It doesn't matter. Quickly. Yeah. It doesn't. Well, first of all, they don't trust you to start. They like Derek White more. Okay, so maybe you're like just the bench guy. That's fine. That at the end of the day, Quickley impacted winning. Quickley has been impactful off the bench.
Absolutely.
It's just like, I guess, of course, we're gonna sound biased because we want our guy to win the award, but it's just like, I just feel like holding a spot start against somebody is just, like you said, Alex, just a dumb idea. You're just going to be all riled up just because this guy, is going to lose this award. When in reality, you're going to find the fact that Quickley has been more impactful to winning for the Knicks than Brogdon has been impactful to winning for the Celtics. And, it's easy to draw an excuse and say, oh, well, it's because he started those 20 games, or when he started those, like, you look at his like advanced stats during those his bench games only, and I feel like only now was this ever an argument. I don't remember this being an argument when Jamal Crawford was winning Sixth Man of the Year and had to come in every now and then for the Clippers. Like, it's no one really cares until it became a Knicks player that might win the award. Like, it's just, and I hate to kind of go along that line of thinking, but people are always like, oh, well, New York Knicks bias, once the Knicks have a halfway decent player, they're going to get all the awards. And I'm just like, okay, guys, so like you're just discounting Quickley, and you clearly don't watch him play to see how impactful he is. There have been multiple times this year where Julius didn't have it, Brunson didn't have it, RJ didn't have it, whatever. He comes in and he makes things happen, and they're just kind of telling on themselves by showing that they haven't really watched him. And I've watched some Celtics games. I've seen Brogdon play. He's pretty good for them, but I just feel like Quickley's been more impactful for the Knicks, which is why I think he should win the award. That's just kind of my perspective on it. But I to your point, Alex, it's just Boston fans trying to be mad about something, because they have this great team that's probably there's a threat to make the finals, and Tatum isn't probably gonna be in the final three for MVP, and and then Brent Brogdon loses Sixth Man of the Year. Like, where's our award? Missoula might lose Coach of the Year to Mike Brown in Sacramento. So it's just a lot of like lack of recognition, I think, is how they're going to be feeling. And if that's the case, go ahead and win NBA Finals then. If that should be the only thing you care about. So what you should be caring about if you're a Celtics fan is Jaylen Brown leaving is what you should be caring about, because he does not seem very happy over there. So, which has me rubbing my hands, because as you guys know, that's like the guy I would love to see on the Knicks. So
yeah,
just entertain that idea. Imagine Jalen Brown comes to the Knicks, RJ goes to the Celtics.
Oof.
I said it here that wherever RJ goes, I will still follow his career. I would have to watch Celtics games. Fuck me, I guess. So can we get him without getting a second round pick? Something familiar? No, like that. Okay.
Obi and RJ, the centerpiece of the package for Jaylen Brown. So just floating it out there.
It's the most likely.
Yeah. Because I feel like I feel any star. I think those two are probably going to be, or Quickley even, because he's a more valuable asset who has not been paid yet over Obi for sure. So, but anyway, let's move on from that. We're a Knicks podcast, guys. Well, let's talk about some Mavericks. So, what a tire fire. So the Mavs have been officially eliminated from playing contention. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games to close the year. The Kyrie experiment has not worked. But they sat against Chicago a bunch of players. It wasn't just sitting Luka. It wasn't just sitting Kyrie. It was Josh Green was sat down. Tim Hardaway Jr. sat down. Jaden Hardy, their rookie, was sat down. You think a rookie would play. Look at, like, the Blazers are really shamelessly tanking, but their rookie, Shaedon Sharpe, is still playing minutes. So this has kind of sparked a investigation by the league to see into these practices, because they were still viable as a play-in team, but they decided to just kick the can down the road and just hope for the lottery odds so that they can get a top 10 pick, so that they don't have to give it to the Knicks. So do you think this is what's happening, base? Do you think that they are avoiding winning games on purpose so that they can avoid giving this first round pick to the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think I'm not convinced it's an anti-Knicks thing. I think it's just more, they realise that their roster's such a mess. They had absolutely no chance in the playoffs, even if they got there, and they've just decided to go for the pick instead, try and protect their protect their protection. And I think that's all it is. What I would love to see, well, even if nothing comes of this investigation, I'm not going to stop laughing all summer if somebody jumps over them in the lottery and they end up back at 11 again. That's almost funnier than getting the protections taken off them now, which I don't think will ever happen. But that would be absolutely brilliant. But it would have been funny actually if say they gave us the pick without protections and then we jump into the top four and take it there. That would be good as well. So yeah, I mean it's sad. What I didn't understand about the whole deal is why they listed players as resting. What happened to all the fake injuries? Like there's plenty out there. They could have chosen
right hand management, man. They could have
exactly. Yeah. But resting players, when you still had a chance to get the play in, that's just daft.
League doesn't like to see that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why the league is investigating, and they did it on purpose, like a big middle finger to the league, because they failed 82 games to play. They failed to get into the playoffs with one of the best players in the league. They trade for another great player and fail, and they come back to the Jalen Brunson thing, just to stick it to the league. It's not about only the Knicks. Obviously, that this is a move about Kyrie walking and Christian Wood probably walking as well, and no first round pick. Oh yeah, Luka's gonna go, and let's try to do something. This first round pick, we can maybe trade or do something with this to keep Luka in. I mean, keeping Luka with a 10th round pick is kind of, but yeah, that's resting player. Just rest with their season is on the line. It's just a big middle finger to the league, and that's why the league is even investigating this, because if it's injuries, okay, it's injuries, great. So, but resting in Luka playing one quarter and then, I mean, it's blatant going against the league, and the Knicks have been punished for this with a second round pick, which we all agreed was completely ridiculous. A second round pick for something illegal in the league, tampering, and well, they got mad at that again. I think it's just, if you wanted Jalen Brunson so bad, offer them the money. Oh, they didn't set a bar. Offer the money. If you can offer the money, you could offer more money than the Knicks. You could more years. You didn't want to overpay him. Well, that's on you. I mean, don't blame. Okay, it was illegal. Blaming the father, blaming
we'll get
Brunson.
to that in a second.
I mean, come on.
We'll get to it in
man.
a second.
It's
just
ridiculous. It's just ridiculous,
yeah.
the whole thing.
I was just going to say, the one thing simply I do have for the Mavs fans is that they're saying, lots of other teams are doing it, and yeah, not quite so blatant. And some teams are out of, playoffs or whatever, but they're still making moves to kind of get higher up the lottery ladder. There's still the Portland have been an absolute disgrace not just this season, but last season as well. Where they've been playing guys the last 2 weeks of the season who even some Portland fans are less like, I don't know who that guy is. Do you know? Like It's just absolutely disgraceful, like what they've done, and I can't believe they talk about Lillard being the ultimate loyal player. If I was him, I'd just be like, well, what is going on here? I'm not waiting about. He's not that far from retirement, and I'm not sitting about waiting for some rookie to kind of come up to my level. And as I say, I think they've been an absolute disgrace the last couple of seasons, and they should be also getting investigated. And I can't understand why they're not.
I mean, we know why they're not. It's because Luka's a top 4 or 5 player in the league, and he's healthy. and you just are just punting on the last couple games of the season when you were still mathematically okay for the play-in. Portland has been not
they've got
fully
Lillard,
mathematically
you know.
eliminated, but 5-6 games out of the play-in spot for when that started happening. And so, I mean, you go with like the Pistons too. They kind of started resting a bunch of players like a month ago. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, tanking's a problem in the NBA. We know that. You know, like we understand that is happening, and it's probably an unavoidable thing because the draft gives you 2 to 3 generally elite players every year, and those guys go in the first 3 picks. So you're incentivized to do that because how important the superstar is in the NBA. But my takeaway with the Mavs.
Sorry, just 1 second, Omar. But that, although it's 2 different scenarios between the Mavs and Portland, you know, Portland are still positioning themselves for better lottery odds. Do you know that? Which is, you know, you're talking about a draft that's got a generational player. I mean, at the start of the season, Adam Silver talked about, you know, basically they know he's coming, you know, and you know the team should, you know, be doing everything in their power to play fairly and play for wins. Do you know what? So he's saying that at the start of the season, knowing fine well that teams at the end of the season, if they start positioning themselves in the lottery to get better odds, you know, that's a huge, you know, potential franchise changing player coming in. Yep. And if you're talking about a team like the Mavs that are just trying to creep into the play-in, your teams that creep into the play-in in 10th position or whatever, 9th position even, you know, hugely unlikely to do anything in the playoffs or the title race at all, you know. And, you know, I would say, you know, tanking for a lottery pick, especially in this year, is probably maybe not quite as bad as trying not to get into the playoffs, but you know, it's still a big important thing, you know, and especially one that Silver talked about at the start of the season. So what's he going to do about it? Do you know, he's got to back up what he said at the start of the season.
I guess my thing too here is like, let's not act like the Mavs are the Charlotte Hornets all of a sudden. And they made the Western Conference Finals last year. You know, yes, they lost Brunson. We understand, whatever, you know, but it's just like, this is a team with an elite player, you know, and I think that's why it's being made of such a big magnitude. Like imagine Giannis missing the playoffs when it happened, you know, like, and that's, I think, organizationally, why you have to look at this team and say they have failed their superstar. That's what they've done. They lost. Oh, go ahead.
Portland still has Dame. Do you know?
Sure, yeah.
He's healthy. You know, they've started.
Let's not act like Dame is Luka though, Alex. I mean, you know, one's in his prime and an elite player. The other's still a very good player, but also entering the exit of his prime. Tanking in general, like I said, I'm not disagreeing. Tanking's bad for the league. You know, it's not that one is good and one is bad. They're both bad. I just think this is just kind of exposing what a fraudulent organization the Mavs have become. You know, they were incapable of giving Dirk his second star. Yes, he got a title with one of the best finals runs or playoff runs we've ever seen in the modern era. You know, so it was incredible that he got that title. And you know, Mavs fans say, "Yeah, look at we did it with just one guy." Like, yeah, it was basically a miracle. You know, the gauntlet you had to go through to get to that title. Now they have Luka, another generational talent, and they are equipping him with like this terribly built roster. You know, Christian Wood didn't work. Then they try and trade for Kyrie Irving. That didn't work. Like you were talking about this earlier, Rafa. I said that the biggest issue that they did was trade Dorian Finney-Smith, their best defender, who they happened to prioritize signing just last year over Jalen Brunson, who they're crying about losing, which we'll get into in a second. So this team is just an organizational failure. All right. They are in like, yeah, do I think they're trying to be petty? Maybe not just because the Knicks, they're just trying to give the FU to the NBA, like you guys have both said. And they want to use that pick to trade. They're not picking anybody with that draft pick. Luka's trying to win now. You know, so they're trying to trade him as a centerpiece, or trade that pick as a centerpiece to get, you know, a decent second player with Luka. Because as of right now, they're building around Luka, Jaden Hardy, and Josh Green. Sorry, that's not going to get it done, and they're failing him right now.
But
unless that
who are they
pick
even
jumps into the top four, maybe.
Yeah, unless they get
there's
lucky
a lot of
and
great players.
they struck lottery gold and get Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson or one of these guys coming from college that are at an elite level.
Who are they even trading? The Mavs. Is that first round pick and who? Because they
I mean,
traded
they
everywhere for
probably
Kyrie.
give up on Hardy or Green, because those are their two only promising young talents right now. They're in no man's land. Like they're in a real bad spot if they don't get a top 3 pick.
You do a signing
If
trade,
Kyrie Irving leaves, which is the thing, I think Kyrie leaves, right?
Yeah.
Irving is going to LA. I think it's a gimme.
The thought process.
I mean, they made that trade knowing where Kyrie Irving would end up in Lakerland, and they still made a trade to try to make the playoffs. It didn't work out, and now they're shooting from everywhere. And like the team is, did anyone believe that the Mavs could have reached the conference finals last year?
No.
No, nobody believed it because it's not great again. We need to.
That's more so everybody's underrating of how good Jalen Brunson actually was. I mean, which we've seen, we've all been pleasantly surprised by him this year because we didn't know he'd be this. We didn't know he had this in him. And it's fair to say that he was a big catalyst for them getting to the conference finals. I guess real quick, what do you guys think is going to be the result of this investigation? Are they going to penalize them in any way?
I don't think so.
I don't think they'll do anything.
At worst, it's a fine, right? Like at worst,
yeah.
We'd love to see them remove their protections. That'd be nice, but I don't think.
I think that's wishful thinking.
If
I don't. It would open, as I said, it would open up a huge can of worms about all the tanking that's going on, and Cuban would be right on that, like legal action, all sorts. I think he would just go absolutely crazy if that happened, and as they start talking about all the other teams that are tanking. So,
I mean, it's like you look at you guys mentioned the Blazers tanking. The Blazers tanking a bit. What was the expectations for the Blazers coming in? They made trades like it's a playing team like because they have Lillard. Without Lillard, they're Wembanyama sweepstakes. Absolutely, that like no chance. And the moves they made is like this isn't good enough. Let's try something different. They traded Josh Hart for the Knicks. I mean, it's obviously it's not Josh Hart is not the guy who's gonna lead you to with the second guy to Damian Lillard, obviously, but he's a great player. So all the moves the Blazers made throughout the year in the offseason, it was you knew that Blazers would squeak in the play-ins and maybe be out of the play-ins. The Mavs, you had big expectations, and they are resting guys at the big final minute and the league knowing Luka wants to play and they play him one quarter and then sit him down. It's too many moves. Like it was too many moves. Like obviously the league looks at a team like imagine the Pistons that had their entire season disrailed when Cunningham went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so okay, it's normal for them not to be as good or lose games and the Hornets with all the things that happen as well with them. Like the league has sensibility in this type of situations. Like okay, the Spurs are a bad team for 2 or 3 years, and they're the young guy Primo became an asshole all of a sudden, and he needed to get out of the league. So league is sensible in these situations. But the Mavs, it's just F you or we want to pick. It's the only thing we can do.
Well, what's making it worse too, the comments you've seen from Luka of saying I want to play, the comments you've seen from Jason Kidd where he's kind of alluding to this was kind of an executive decision, not my call. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kidd is let go in the offseason now, just for that kind of insubordination.
Almost guaranteed, I think.
And then you have like the background stuff going on about like, the guy that's like was calling all the shots for a while. This team, I can't remember his name. It's like this organization, like I said to you guys before we start recording, everything that people accuse Dolan of doing is basically what's happening with the Mavs. Like it's really bad, like terribly bad, which brings me to this next thing, which again concerns the Mavs, which is, I don't know why we're relitigating the Jalen Brunson signing, but Mark Cuban was basically, it gave an interview and he was like, well, when parents get involved and and things of that nature, acting like Jalen Brunson is not a 26-year-old man who can make his own decisions. But I guess, do you guys buy anything of what he's been saying about the fact that they had no chance to re-sign him and what was the Mavs and that, it was basically a done deal once the Knicks hired Rick Brunson?
Yeah, it's absolutely nonsense. And the whole thing about they didn't have a chance to re-sign, I've talked to you guys a lot recently about, if teams in that position want to re-sign players, they can re-sign players. It's not a problem. It's the team have so much control, and if you let a player go, it's because you don't want to keep them generally. Yeah, there was extra circumstances with the Knicks thing, but he dropped the ball, and or dropped the bag even, and he kept Finney Smith instead of him. They made that decision, and yeah, it's backfired on them completely. So
They could have kept both.
Yeah.
It's the thing, they could have kept both, and it probably should have kept both. Like, I don't buy it. They didn't give me a number. How lame of an excuse is that? You have numbers, numbers, you know what players are worth. How many years are you in this league? Like being a general manager, whatever, you know what players are worth. Give him numbers. Obviously, it's obvious. We've discussed this. Players talk amongst each other, and people talk. It's obvious. And the Knicks just got that second round pick thrown away from them because it was too blatant. Like father's there, the Godfather's there. So yeah, maybe it was a little bit of foul play. But we just mentioned, we all know or suspect where Kyrie Irving will play next year. So if we know that, it's obvious it happens more. Like the Mavs, I don't know if you remember a few years ago when the Mavs signed DeAndre Jordan.
I knew this was coming.
And then the entire Clippers team came over to his house and said, "No, stay in LA, stay in LA," and he stayed in LA. Is that not tampering? Did he complain at the time? No. And it's the Knicks bias. There you go. It's
I think the general rule is that the players can't tamper, isn't it? I think it's got to be from somebody in the
well, it's the LeBron James thing, right? From the Miami days,
Yep.
Look, man, like Cuban saying this, acting like he didn't have a chance to sign Brunson for 4 years, $55 million, is just comical to me. He had that opportunity. Then he prioritized. Then he kicked the ball down the road. Then he prioritized signing Dorian Finney-Smith. Okay, like Brunson himself has gone on podcasts and said, "Yeah, I was ready to stay in Dallas. I was ready to accept the offer for $55 million over 4 years. That's generational wealth." Brunson's humble enough, and then like when he's like, "Hey, they kind of let it kick the can down the road. You elevated your value. Well, let's see who else is going to do it." And the Knicks are going to offer him, $100 million, and he took it. And the Mavs are like, "Oh, well, we can't afford that." Like, you had the chance, man. We are in the middle of watching an all-time bag fumble by this organization. And, for years, I thought to myself, I was like, man, I don't get why Dallas doesn't get free agents. They're in a big market. It's like he's fifth largest in the U.S. They're geographically perfectly located because they're in the middle of the country, so travel isn't bad. There's no state income tax, and everybody seems to like their owner. Okay, so I'm just like, what's there not to like? Why can they never get free agents? I think we're starting to see why they can never get free agents, because this front office does not know what the fuck they're doing. They have no clue. And that brings me to the next thing, which is the rumor that Luka might ask out next summer. So, dreaming of Luka aside in a Knicks uniform, I mean, do you think that there's a possibility that he's going to request out? And if so, would they even consider trading again a top 5 player in this
I think he definitely will. Because I can't see that situation improving anytime soon. Do you know? I think that the mess that they're in is going to take a good few years to resolve, and Luka doesn't seem like the sort of that's going to be sitting waiting about for that to happen. So yeah, I think he definitely will. But if you thought the Donovan Mitchell price tag was high, then Luka's going to be insane. So just let's all be careful until we, and especially as you said earlier, it's very unlikely the Mavs are going to, do a deal with the Knicks anytime soon. So, I think we should. He'll probably leave in the near future, but very unlikely it'll be to the Knicks. So,
I mean, it's a possibility because people. I mean, we've seen it with the Mavs. Luka wants to win. Luka wants to fight for the title and be up there. And we've seen because in some ways he has pressured the Mavs into making moves. With the KP move in and out, and so moves are being made because Luka wants to be a contender every year, and he wants to have a good team around him. And right now feels like the Mavs won't be able to give him that team at least for the next year or two, unless they somehow trade everyone away and get free agents in to play with Luka, which is a bit unlikely. But to trade for Luka, I mean, it's the amount of picks and players and everything involved will be way too big. I mean, forget first round picks. I mean, get the first pick of 2043 ready. I mean, come on, let's get it. It's
like
4
what's
years
the
of picks.
maximum amount of picks you could send? That's the amount.
Yeah, exactly. Add some to that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't even know how can you trade for him like without gutting your team, without being able to succeed. Unless Luka just goes on I don't see him doing that. He wants to be out there playing. If he throws a tantrum and says, "Fuck this, I'm not playing," trade me or I'm not playing, and that makes it a different situation. But I don't think he will do that. But he signed the contract like it was last year, right? Or was it this year? Just
Supermax
kicked in.
extension,
So
I believe. Yeah,
I'm just looking
exactly.
at it
So
too.
he has a player option for the 2026-2027 season. He knew where he was going, where he signed. So I don't think if this is to happen about the trade or anything, I don't think it's going to happen now. Maybe 2024 or 5, we'll see that happen. But it's well, it's not a. You have one of the best players in the league, and your situation is bad. Well, it is very Knicks like. It is very Knicks like to do something like that, but you can't blame the Knicks for this. You dug yourself the biggest hole you could have dug with the players and the guys you signed, the guys you traded for, and the guys you traded away. I mean, Finney Smith was you guys said it. We were talking about it. You pick the guy you picked over Brunson. You traded away like 6 months after. So you lost the two guys.
Plus
It's
Porzingis as well.
funny. I mean, exactly, and it's funny in a way how both teams that traded the players amongst themselves, the Hawks and the Mavs, they have the players that traded amongst themselves. They can't run a team to save these two guys because it's funny, it's comical, and I love even more and more that Mark Cuban is miserable. So yeah, and blaming the Knicks is just a shit team. It's the Knicks, of course.
Yeah.
Blame the Knicks.
Look, man, if I'm Luka, I'm requesting a fucking trade because this organization has shown me that they don't know how to build around me. The problem is, like you mentioned, Rafa, is you're going to demand a king's ransom. And honestly, outside of the
As you
Knicks,
should.
because the Knicks have a fair amount of draft capital from both their own picks and future assets, or their own picks and traded picks that they've gotten from other teams. The only other team that I could think of that has a war chest capable of making a Luka trade is Oklahoma City. And because they have a bunch of cheap young talent that they could move, they have a bunch of draft capital because we know that Sam Presti, lives for those protected first round picks that he happens to acquire in every single deal that he makes. So if the trade happens, I wouldn't be surprised to see Oklahoma City say, okay, this is the move we were looking to make. But if you're Luka, like you got to look around like, all right, what's the path forward? And it's almost like it's funny, Alex, you mentioned Portland earlier. It's kind of like Portland's in this weird spot where they probably should be doing a full rebuild, right? Yeah, but you have Dame, and Dame wants to win because he's getting up there in age and he doesn't want to play for a rebuilding organization. So you're kind of stuck. I almost wonder, are the Mavs getting to the point where they really, need to take a couple years to reaccumulate the war chest? And, Luka's there. Luka doesn't want to be a part of that. He sees guys like Jokic and guys like Giannis winning games, Embiid winning games, contending for titles. He wants to do that, he wants to win. And I just kind of wonder if there's going to reach a point where he's going to be like, you know what, you guys need to get your fucking act together or I'm out of here. And I think that day is coming because even when they try to make moves to appease him, it feels a lot like LeBron the first go around in Cleveland. Like every single move they'd make, it doesn't really work, and you could argue some of that is Luka's play style, where he's so ball dominant that it's so hard to find the right fit. But that's why these front office guys make money. They got to figure that out. Houston figured it out with Harden, and they got him to the conference finals, one win away from an NBA Finals appearance. People forget about that, and the Mavs, yeah, they made the Western Conference Finals last year, but if they want to prevent him requesting a trade, they're going to need to be able to either retain Kyrie or figure out some maneuvering to be able to sign some free agent in the summer, because otherwise Luka's going to kind of be looking around the room like, yeah, this team isn't going anywhere. Let's get me the fuck out of here, wherever the hell that may be, whether it's Oklahoma City, whether it's Miami, whether it's whatever, whether it's the Knicks, whatever team it may be. So that's something to monitor for sure. But
there was just no way that the Mavs would trade Luka to the Knicks. Like, even if it was the best offer. Like, after all this, trading him to the Knicks, I mean, it's the biggest. No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I know a lot of Knicks fans have been fantasizing about Luka to the Knicks, and I just, outside of free agency, I don't really see it as a possibility because Cuban already doesn't like us. So the asking price immediately is plus 25% over any other offer, and I just think that, you'd have to give up every single draft pick. You'd have to give up 3 or 4 players. And I don't know. But that's unimportant in the grand scheme of things because we have playoff games to look forward to. So very excited about that. I think game 1 is either Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure if the schedule came out yet.
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, so this weekend we will have playoff basketball to discuss. So definitely looking forward to that. But make sure to follow us on Twitter at WW Knicks Podcast to get all the updates from the Knicks in the playoffs. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications on YouTube. We're also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So on behalf of Alex and Rafa, it's Omar, Worldwide Knicks, checking out. Go Knicks. Let's win some games in Cleveland.